I'm still trying to get a hold of somebody that is like an expert in the life sciences and immunology and things like that. But until then, I wanted to give you at least some starting points to go, because you did give me keywords, and I was able to look up like, well, what do these keywords mean? I come out of the social sciences, so I'm out of my depth here, but I can help you track stuff down. I do have some good strategies that you can use regardless of your background, but you do have the background, so you can add keywords. So from the Marriott Library homepage, you could search in the main catalog, but we want to narrow this down to like what's happening now, because this is like a cutting edge sort of a study. So we don't want to find stuff that's like books or magazines. We want to find scholarly articles. We want to find the best of the scholarly articles, the highest impact ones, and we want to be able to figure out like what's been published like recently. So follow along with me. Do log in if you're not on campus so you can get full text access. Log in there, or cis.utah.edu or canvas.utah.edu. Anything that makes your phone do the duo authentication thing will get you logged in. Then go to databases. There's two that your professor might, or professors or TAs or whoever's helping you, they might be using one called Scopus or one called Web of Knowledge or Web of Science. They both do the same thing. I'm going to show you Scopus because I love it. But beware, they both do kind of similar things. And the content that they represent is a lot of overlap. So I'm going to go to S, go down to the database called Scopus, SEO. So there you can even see where I wanted to pretend like I haven't been here before. Oh well, the facade is gone. When you look at Scopus, a Web of Science, especially from an academic library, it's looking at a carefully, how do we say this, curated list of databases or journal articles and journals that are high impact. So when we have autoimmune journals, there might be a handful to like in the tens or the dozens, but the ones that have the highest impact are the ones that get cited. So if one gets published and it creates like 7 more articles that had to cite it. So you have to apply as a journal to get into Scopus. So this is like the top of the top, and journals sometimes get added and sometimes they get dropped depending on their ranking. The cool thing is this is across all the disciplines. So I'm going to start out with one of the keywords, molecular mimicry. So if it's more than one word that you want searched for, you have to stick it in quote marks. And spelling counts. If you misspell anything, you won't get anything. So on this one, it's only going to search through the title and the abstract. It's not going to go through the full text of the article. It's going to go through the keywords, the names of authors, and things like that. And it's going to search through all of those. And wow, there's 12,000, he acts surprised after having done that search. You can see this is a range of times that it appears, but realistically, let's see, if we hold the mouse on this, it might tell us. Okay, well, they might have been looking at it before, but this is like the published documents in here, which like digitization starts in the mid-90s, so don't freak out about that. If you have something like the Epstein-Barr virus, or like a particular illness or an autoimmune disease, you can search for those. But let me show you, before we dig into that, a tip. So instead of just searching everywhere, let's search in the abstract. So we know that molecular mimicry in that order is going to show up in the abstract. That'll narrow it down significantly. And then unless you're doing the fundamentals, I would say come up to the last 10 years. So we get the research that's relatively new. And then you'll see things like reviews. That's like a review of a book typically, or maybe it's a response to an article. I think those are okay to keep in, but you wouldn't necessarily cite a review. Then over on this side, you can't go through 1100 reasonably, but what you could do is arrange them by like the newest coming out, or you could arrange it by the number of times that something has been cited. What that means is since 2015, oh, it never narrowed down. Do I have to click like narrow? Okay, never mind. Go back to this. When you do cited by highest, it'll take those 1100 articles and it'll put it in the order of the one that's been cited the most first. So this one about gut microbiomes, which is so exciting that that's all happening right now. Cool, it's fascinating. So this article was so important that these 1300 articles couldn't exist unless they cited this one. Isn't that cool? So there's the mRNA. There's like all these other keywords that you can search for. How do you add keywords? So if we wanted to narrow this down, I was really excited when I was doing a little bit of background on this, is that we can look at vaccine. And if you want to do vaccine or vaccines, if you don't know what the keyword is, you can do that, and we can also put that in the abstract. So we know that that's one of the topics. And again, I think we're still in the 2015 to 2025. That narrows it down even farther. And then if you wanted to look for a vaccine for cancer, and again, I like going into the abstract, the title gets really specific. All of a sudden, that narrows it way down. Or if you're interested in multiple sclerosis, or if you're interested in rheumatism, look at me being smart. I looked these up and I wrote them down. Celiac disease, SARS, all of these are autoimmune diseases that can be studied and have been studied. So you could just put that, you can get rid of the vaccines and just say, I'm interested in cancer, or I'm interested in celiac. And this is how you would find those things. Did you talk about T cells? No, it's something else. So autoimmune diseases is a broad category. I'm not sure if that would be a helpful keyword, but you could try doing that one too, autoimmune disease. But I think the molecular mimicry seems to be trending towards the study of autoimmune diseases. So it's kind of like one of those things that might be given. So like, I'm going to get a burger at McDonald's. You could just say, yeah, I'm going to McDonald's. It's kind of assumed that the two go together, if that makes sense. But what you could put in here, you could say we have the diseases. You could also put in symptoms, swelling or fatigue. Now you can totally tell that I cheated using something else. Fever. And so instead of looking at the disease, they're looking at like the measurements or the symptoms or the evidence that a disease exists. Or you could look at response, or you could look at specifically the autoimmune response. And every time it changes these, you can look and see what the top article is. So we left molecular mimicry at the very top. Now, if you want to go really far into it, you can look for molecular mimicry in the article title. This is where one of the most important things has to be in the title, so which kind of like gives away like the main point of everything else. That's going to narrow it down, but this might be where you can find those fundamental things about your topic and just go off of what's been cited the most. And what happens if we go, oh, I'm always loath to go back before the turn of the century because their methodology was kind of troublesome. But here you can see like pneumonia, bystander activation, you get all these great ideas. One more thing that I want to show you, or a couple more things, is let's go up to like what's happening since the pandemic. If you find one where you are just like, oh, SARS-CoV spike in human proteins. If you see one that you're just like, yes, that's the one that I want, there's two things you can do. Well, it's quite a handful of things you can do. You could click on the author and find out what they're talking about. You can click on the title of the article and go in and read the abstract. If you're using a citation manager like Zotero, you could probably grab the citation. Ooh, there's a good time to say, Scopus does not like Chrome and it does not like ad blockers. So I had to right click to open this up. So I've got like an ad blocker that blocks this out. So if you run into trouble, try a different browser like Safari. Be that as it may, that would show you like the abstract and all that. Over here on the side, though, is if you find one that really talks about what you want, if you click on that number, you can sort those by the number of times cited. So these are the tools that your professors and graduate students and you now use for literature reviews. So if you know of a good article that you've already found, you can search for the title of that article. Let me show you. Let's find an article. Oh, it's not going to let me in. Fiddlesticks. Oh, it is going to let me in. Okay. Say, for example, I found this in a different database. Skeletal muscles. So what you can do in any of these databases is you can go in, just search all fields, and put that title in quote marks, and it'll track it down for you. Why is there 18 articles on this topic? Post-exertional malaise in long COVID. Oh man, that was it. That was me. And also like the fog and everything. Maybe I still am foggy. This Find It button will go to our library catalog, which will give you access to the databases that you can find the full text article in. Typically, it's like one of these links right here. And you can get to that full text. If you run stuck of trying to get an article, don't spend too much time. You could just send me the title or the citation, and I'll help you track it down. So I hope this helps. This tool, Scopus or Web of Science, both sort by number of times cited. You just have to dig around to see how they do it. And these are a great way of developing your knowledge of what's come before, what's going on right now, and what matters in kind of like a linear lit review sort of a thing to go. But I will keep on looking for somebody that can help you as we go. Okay,